Hello, everybody. Welcome to Run and Code, humor in South Texas law enforcement. I'm your host, T-Bone. By my side and having my back as always, J-Man. J-Man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, just as always.
All right. Well, that's what I like to hear. So that's what's good in a partner.
Oh, yeah.
Today, though, last episode, folks, I did listen to it. We appreciate that. Please bear in mind what we talked about. That wasn't funny. This one, though, I think we're going to find it funny. Today, we're going to talk about sex offenders. Now,
Yeah.
how's that funny? Everybody's like, well, that's not very funny. No, what they did was not funny. But how they react when you deal with them, that's funny. That's the difference. So we're not going to talk about what the crimes they did because that's not funny and that's not okay.
Right.
But once you're a sex offender, the rules change for you, buddy. You lose some Fourth Amendment protections because you chose to do what you did and you pay the price.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean by that? If you are a sex offender, whether you are a quarterly registrant, and we'll explain what that means, annual registrant, lifetime registrant, it depends on the level of the offense you committed. So if you were convicted of sexual assault of a child, that's probably going to be quarterly, and you're going to have to check in every quarter with your sex offender registry officer, which is every agency has an officer designated as a sex offender registry officer. Their whole job is to keep track of sex offenders.
Yeah.
Their whole job is to register them, check on them, file charges as necessary if they violate, so on and so forth. What I mean by violate is if they violate the restrictions of their sex offender registry. So when you get released from prison, you have to check in with the sex offender officer. If you live in the city, an officer assigned to that agency. If you live in the county, an officer assigned to that agency. You have to check in with them. This is my address. This is the car I drive. These are my phone numbers. This is my emails. This is my social media, if you're allowed to have it. Some, depending on the crime they committed, may not be allowed to have.
For good reason.
They may not allowed to have cell phones. They may not allowed to have smart devices at all. And I ran into those that were not allowed to have cell phones. And he was holding a cell phone in his hand. He violated.
Yeah.
And I took care of that. Now, in this county, we're not allowed to arrest on site immediately for violating the sex offender registry. It has to be investigated, which I don't agree with, but that's this county. Whatever. But when you pull them over or you run their driver's license or ID card, it'll come up. Sex offender and the information, their name, their date of birth, their height, their weight, their FBI number, the charge originally, and their restrictions, what they can do, what they cannot do, all their phone numbers, who they work for, the address they live at, cars they own is all in that.
Yep.
So when you get released from prison, you have to, if you're a quarterly, biannual, annual, or lifetime, you have to check in. They want to know your address, the cars you drive, the license plate numbers, the VIN numbers, the make, the model, and the color, any phone numbers you've got, all your email addresses, all your social media, where you work, and depending on the crime, if you're allowed to have a smart device or not. So if you were convicted of, say, enticing a minor, by using like grooming them on the internet, like you use Instagram,
online solicitation.
Thank you, online solicitation of a minor. One of your requirements is you may not be allowed to have any kind of smart device. You may not be allowed to have a home computer. You might not be allowed to have internet at your house. You may not be allowed to have a smartphone. You may have a phone, but it'll be the old school flip phone dial, no internet access.
Yeah.
And all that will be on your requirements. If you have what's called a change of status, you are required to notify your sex offender officer. So let's say you buy a new car. You paid your debt to society. You can buy a car, but you have to notify your sex offender officer of the new car within 7 days of purchase. Mm-hmm. License plate, the VIN number, the make, the model, the year, all that. You have to. You don't have a choice. There's a good reason behind this. The reason is if someone calls in a suspicious car parked in front of a school and we run the plate and it's a sex offender, he's going to have some explaining to do.
Yeah.
Now, maybe he's picking up his kid. Maybe he does have a juvenile child that's at that school. Okay. We'll pull up, make contact with him. My daughter goes to school. I'm here to pick her up. Okay. But if his registry says he is not allowed within 1,000 feet of a school, he's going to have a problem. Doesn't matter if his kids go there or not. He's not allowed to be in. There's no exemption for that. And they always, well, my kid goes there. Or I thought, or I didn't know. They knew. Because they have to initial next to each requirement of the sex offender registry that falls into them. They have to initial and it's read to them. And all this is done on camera. They cannot say they didn't know. They cannot say they weren't told. They were told.
Yeah, the almighty I didn't know.
The almighty I didn't know is not going to save them on that one because we have paperwork with their signature that says you knew. So we pull them over on traffic stops all the time. One of the funniest ones I can ever remember. He ran a stop sign. Literally all it was. Walked up on the car. I ran the plate. It didn't come up with anything other than just insurance, registration, and nothing major. No big deal. hello, sir, Officer so-and-so. The reason I stopped you is you ran the stop sign back there. You got driver's license, insurance. Now, he was late 20s, early 30s, if I recall right. This was several years ago. And he had a woman with him, very pretty young lady, probably mid-20s, late 20s maybe. And she wasn't saying anything. He's holding us an iPhone in his hand while we're talking, which didn't mean anything to me at the time, yet. It came back to be very relevant about 5 minutes later. But he gave me his driver's license. Okay, cool. Is this your car? Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. It was his aunt's car. He said it was his aunt. I just happened to ask, and I don't know why I asked the question, but I asked, whose car is this? And I think it was because it was a woman's name on the registration. He was clearly a male. So I just always ask. And they, oh, yeah, it's so-and-so. And they rip the name off. Probably legit. If they go, I don't know who owns this car. It's my friend, and I don't know his name. Could be a different problem.
Yeah.
So I do remember asking. It was my aunt's. I said, but you use it? He goes, yeah, I've been using it for like 6 months. Okay, whatever. I don't care. It's got insurance, got registration. Who gives a rip? I go back and run him. He's a quarterly sex offender registrant because he got busted for sexual assault of a child and online solicitation of a minor.
Okay.
So requirements, I read them. No access to smart devices. He was holding an iPhone in his hand. Now, that might be hers, but he's not allowed to have access to it. He cannot have anything with the internet.
Yeah.
Now we have a whole different traffic stop. Now, Officer Friendly goes away. Officer Dickhead comes in. So I walked up and said, sir, there's something you forgot to tell me? What? You're a sex offender. And he looked at me and went, shh, and pointed at her. I was like, no, I'm not going to shush. Ma'am, are you aware he was convicted and went to prison for a sexual assault of a child, online solicitation of a minor? And she didn't know. If you could tell immediately, she had no idea. And she looked at him, and he looked at me like I ratted him out. I'm like, ma'am, you could have ran his name to the DPS sex offender site and it would have told you this.
Yeah.
It's not hidden information.
It's not.
It's required to be public information. I think every state has that now. I think every state does that for good reason.
Yeah.
So, and he was beyond pissed off at me. And I said, by the way, I said, whose phone is that? Mine. And I snatched it out of his hand. Thank you very much. I immediately put it in airplane mode and put it on the roof of the car. Now you can't erase it. So I was like, you just told me you've been using this car for 6 months. Yeah. Did you register it with your sex offender officer within 7 days? I didn't know I had to. Wrong answer. You know how you're not allowed to have access to smart devices? I didn't know that. Wrong answer. Yes, you did. So, and then I asked the woman, I said, do you have small kids? She goes, I got 2 little girls. She was already calling for a ride. She was already done. I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Step out of the car. And they got out and he got all mad at me. He's like, oh, you ruined my relationship. I said, no, I didn't. I made her aware of something she needed to know.
Yeah.
I said, look at what you're accused of. I didn't say you did it. But you did get convicted of it and you're on the sex offender registry. So whether you did it or not, it's irrelevant. She has 2 small children. And your record says it's probably not the best idea for them to be around you. I'm not saying you did it, but I'm going to err on the side of caution because those are children. So he was a little bent with me. And I said, now give me your blue card. Now, for listeners who don't know what a blue card is, every agency, when you check in with the sex offender officer, they're going to give you, it's either a blue card, it's whatever paper stock they got.
Yeah.
Generally, it's blue. Sometimes it's yellow or it could be green. I know us, it's green. With the municipal police department, it's blue.
Right.
But it'll have their name, their date of birth, their sex offender officer, whoever that is, whether it's a deputy or an officer or state police, although I don't think state police does it. I think they leave that typically to the sheriff's office or the municipal police department, but that doesn't say they can't.
Yeah.
Their phone number, the agency that's responsible for this offender, and when their next check-in time is. So whether it's quarterly or annually or biannual. They're supposed to give you that card. Are they required to? They're not required to give you that card. Generally, though, they will. If they don't want to cause any problems, they'll hand it to you with your license. If the stop has nothing to do with any of their violations, if they're not violating, let it go.
Yeah.
Because I'm stopping you for running a stop sign, not being a sex offender. I don't care you're a sex offender. As long as you're fulfilling the requirements, I won't even bring it up.
Right.
I won't even say a word, whatever. If that was your name on the registration, the car came up like it's supposed to, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped you for speeding. Okay, blue card, whatever. Okay, cool, hand it back, whatever. All right, this is where you currently live? Now, that better be where they currently live. Or I got another problem.
I've seen where it wasn't.
And I've seen, I'm like, oh, you got a different problem now.
Oh.
So, this gentleman, I call him gentleman just to be politically correct. He was no gentleman. Pulled him out of the car, walked him back to mine, and said, all right, so now you have a couple violations of the registry. You've not told him that you're driving this car, and it was my agency. This offender actually was out of my agency. So I said, you've not told him, and you're required to. You signed it. Well, it's not my car. It doesn't have to be your car, as long as you are using it. And a lot of people don't realize that. Let's say you're assigned a company vehicle, you're a sex offender, and you're assigned a company vehicle. You still have to register that vehicle as a sex offender vehicle.
Yeah, because the employment will be there in the return.
That's right. So it doesn't matter if you own the car or not. It doesn't matter if it's your car or not. If you're using it, you have to notify us.
Yep.
So I told him that. I said, so you failed to register the vehicle with your sex offender officer, or your SO, and you have a smart device. I said, so I'm taking the phone, and he went white. I was like, yeah, there's maybe something on here you don't want us to see. So I told him, I said, I've already put it in airplane mode. I'm going to shut it off. We are going to get a warrant. I said, and we're going to go through your phone. I said, I'm not going to bother asking you for consent. We're just going to get a warrant, and we're going to go through your phone. I said, if we find any child pornography on here, or you've been talking to minors, you're going back. I said, I hope you enjoyed it the first time, because you're going to get another look at it again. Because you have requirements you're not fulfilling. And there's a reason for them. Whether you like them or not, the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure makes it real clear.
Yeah.
So he was real pissed off. So I called his SO and said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to take him in? He goes, nope. I got to investigate it. He goes, but get a case number, write it up, and I'll take care of that. And I said, I got the phone. He goes, please put that in evidence, and I'll get a warrant, and I'll download it. What they do is they take it over to our electronic crimes people, and they download the whole phone.
Yeah.
Folks, nothing is ever erased off a phone. Ever.
Yeah.
It's there forever on your phone, and we pull it all. Now, we specify, we talked about warrants. We talked about search and seizure. Okay. We have to have a cell phone. We have to either have consent or a warrant to download a cell phone.
Yeah.
Okay. But if we get a warrant, we're pulling the entire phone.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through it. If it's anything involving anything digital media, especially when it involves sex crimes, we're going to go through every text message, every single picture, all your social media, your Facebook, Instagram, your Twitter, everything. We're going to go through it all. And God help you if we find pictures of minors or you're enticing minors. You are F-U-C-K-E-D fucked. And it's unimpeachable evidence. It's on your phone. All we did was download it. Yep. That's it. And we assume it's your phone, and you did it because it's your phone.
Yep.
So I told him that. So we're going to download your phone. And yeah, he turned about 3 shades of white. Like, he was really pale. I was like, there's going to be something on this phone. So I told him, I said, right now you are free to leave. I said, but now you need to call your SO first thing, and you need to report this car. And he needs to know the make, the model, the VIN, the year, and the color of this car immediately, whether it's yours or not. Do you understand me? Yeah. And don't tell me you didn't know. And by that time, the Uber had come to pick up the other young lady. And she told him, I don't ever want to see you again. Don't ever come to my house. Don't ever call me. And he was like, oh, man, look at that. You cost me. I said, no, you cost yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I said, don't blame me because you didn't do what you're supposed to do.
We're always convenient scapegoats.
Oh, of course. Of course. We're just right there. P.S. on that story. So RSO got that phone downloaded by Electronic Crimes. Yes. Child pornography. He was talking to minors again. He went back to prison.
Not surprising.
Yeah. But he violated. So they walked 2 warrants on him. Or they walked a warrant on him for violating sex offender registry. But then they walked another warrant on him for possession of child pornography and enticing minors. Yeah, he was done.
Yep.
And I want to say he was only late 20s.
Hey, that's the reason why we have the database, why it's public information, because he's a high-risk offender. Clearly high-risk offender.
And you'll see those, too. If you look at the returns on those, some will say sexually violent or high risk. Like, I'm not talking about the guy who was 18 and she was 16 and it was consensual. Let me explain what I mean. It's not consensual. What I mean consensual is he didn't force it.
Right.
She was willing, but because she's underage, she can't give consent. Right. But he didn't hold her down and take what he wanted. So there's a difference between 18 and 16 and 30 and 12.
Oh, clearly, yeah.
Or they were literally, by definition, sexually assaulted. Like, he grabbed her outside of a bar and raped her. Yeah. That's a sexually violent, high-risk predator.
Yeah.
Versus he was 18, she was 16. She was going to be 17 in a month, which is the legal age of consent in Texas is 17. You know, yes, they do make allowances. Yes, you're a sex offender, but you're going to be an annual. You're not going to be a high-risk, offender. There's a matrix to this. I've never seen the matrix, but I know there's a matrix.
Yeah.
Level of crime,
Yeah.
How many times? Crap like that. But you are in the database with your DNA. Your DNA's in the database. So you offend again and you leave DNA, they got you. They're just going to run that to the FBI, and the FBI is going to, yep, okay, this is so and so. We match the DNA. DNA is like a fingerprint. You're done. They got you.
Yep.
So unless you got a twin, could have a twin, which is rare, but you could.
Yeah.
But then they're just going to go through the records and see, do you have a twin?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to pull birth certificates and find a twin. So the sex offender registry, some of these guys are hilarious to deal with because it's always, I didn't know. I wasn't sure. No one told me. What's funny is I'll call their officer, hey, did you tell him he couldn't? Yeah, I got his paperwork right here. You got a signature? Yeah, he signed it on this date. And did you do it on camera like we do? Sure did. Oh. Hey, sir, they got your signature and the whole thing was on camera when you signed it. Well, I must not read it. Then shame on you for signing something you didn't read.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, he read it out to you. And you said, okay, and you signed it. You want to get out of that office. Shame on you, but your signature fucked you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Exhibit A for the juries or sex offender registry.
Yeah.
Because it's a thick sheet of paper. We don't realize it's actually a pretty decent size. It's probably a good 25 sheets per person where they go through all this crap. And then you write down all your phone numbers, emails, social medias, addresses, cars, everything. You have no choice.
Yeah.
And if you hide any of that, you're done. Now, some of these SOs are a little more lax than others. Ours is not. If you violate, he puts you back inside.
And for good reason.
And for good reason.
There needs to be the social stigma attached to it. And of course, people redeem themselves.
Some do.
Some do. And
like
yes, that should be recognized. But the overall stigma needs to be there for preventative measures. And also to show that the law is going to take this serious because it needs to be. People who are high-risk offenders, like that propensity to reoffend, violent ones, those are not individuals that we want in the community for good reasons. Because the difference between a violent one and someone who has that propensity to reoffend, the groomer, the online solicitor,
he's going to offend.
Silver tongue. They're going to reoffend. They're easier to blend in and hide because they're not outwardly noticeable like the violent guy. But they're both dangerous in their own right.
Absolutely.
And they need to be put inside when they reoffend. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
What a lot of people don't realize is the FBI has classified sexual predators as the highest recidivism rate. And what I mean by that is they are the most likely to reoffend when they get back out of prison. Mm-hmm. Sex offenders are the highest, something like 90% reoffend. Whereas murder is the lowest. Murder has the lowest recidivism rate. Mm-hmm. People who've gone to prison murder generally aren't going to commit another murder. Because most murders are committed crime of passion.
Yeah.
Not movie-style hitmen.
Yeah.
Crime of passion. They flipped out. They caught their wife with the neighbor. The wife caught the husband with the nanny. Whatever. They're probably not going to reoffend. But sex offenders are going to reoffend almost 90% of the time. And that is the crime that has taken the least amount of seriousness. Mm-hmm. So you get the guy that killed somebody in a fit of rage because he caught him with his wife. Not okay, but understandable. He gets 40 years for murder. The guy who rapes a little girl gets 8 years. And really? The guy who's going to reoffend and do it again?
I don't want to comment because it's like a social political reason for that. So I'm just going to keep it away from like us because we don't want it.
This is public, and I'm going to bring this up because this is public.
Yeah.
But the American Psychological Association is trying to reclassify sex offenders as a mental health problem.
Yeah, that's the reason why.
That's a problem to me.
Yeah.
That is not a mental health problem. That is a crime where someone is going to have a lifelong traumatic response because of that. Yep. Their whole life is going to be wreckage because of that. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And they don't want to take it seriously. Now, I get it. Everything we do is run by sex. That's human drive. That's a human response is sex. It drives everything we do. From the clothes we wear, the cologne we wear, the shoes we wear, the cars we drive, the jobs we have are driven by a need to, especially for men, to impress the opposite sex. Absolutely. The need to procreate, the need, that's all there. That's in our code because whether you believe in God or evolution, whoever did it wasn't stupid. You want to keep the human race going? Sex. Or it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Because if all of us on this planet were planned that are here, you'd have a very severely underpopulated planet.
Yeah. So
they made it so easy that it's kind of overpopulated, but that's better than underpopulated. So we have a nice wide gene pool instead of a very shallow gene pool with chlorine in it.
Yeah.
So that problem is when it turns violent or it turns dark.
Yeah.
She said no. Well, no means yes. No means no. The answer is no. And I made it clear to my son when he started college, no means no. That's it. It doesn't matter if you're 2 seconds from entering, it doesn't matter. No means stop and you're done. Do not push this. Do not force it. It's over. It's done. She said no. Call today. Do not make this worse. Do not push this. But that's just one episode. Every man on earth has dealt with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The smart ones go, you know what? Ain't worth it. I'm not going to prison over this.
Yeah.
But then you got your ones who they look on the internet for children to groom and talk to. They're on Fortnite. And parents are listening. You need to listen to this. You need to monitor what your kids are listening to and watching on social media.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Don't let your 12-year-old kid tell you she needs privacy. Bullshit. She's 12. You are protecting her from her.
Yeah.
Okay? Fortnite,
Roblox,
Minecraft, Roblox, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. These are all platforms sexual predators use to talk to children. And they don't just come right out and tell the child they want to have sex with them. They don't do that. They very slowly start grooming them. What I mean by grooming, for those that don't understand the phrase, and most parents should, but if they don't, here's your eye opener. I just want to be your friend. My name's so-and-so. I just want to be your friend. Hey, you like Roblox? I like Roblox too. And it goes from there. They get them very comfortable and very used to talking to them.
Yeah.
And then they slowly, well, send me a picture of you. No. Just send me a picture of you. I just want to see what you look like. This is what I look like. And that's how it goes. And next thing you know, that child is snared and they're sneaking out of the house in the middle of the night because we've had those calls.
Mm-hmm.
Or we get the calls the parent finds the daughter's phone who's 13 or 14 or a boy, but typically girls, but can be a boy. Oh, my daughter has been talking to this grown man who's asking for nudes. That's not the first conversation they've had then.
Yeah.
So, and then the daughter's all of a sudden sneaking out at night. Where's she going? And that's where it starts.
Yep.
And sometimes that kid disappears and is never seen again. Or sometimes I love this man. Okay, you're 13. You don't know what love is. And they end up shacking up with this guy in his 30s.
Yeah.
And then we find him by pure accident. And now she's been living with this guy. Or was it Amanda Smart? Was that her name? I'm trying to remember the girl that was kidnapped. And she ended up living with this guy for like years. Had a kid with him. And he had her chained in the basement or some crap like that.
And she finally escaped.
Amanda Smart.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
If
But
it wasn't Amanda Smart, Miss Smart, if you're listening, I'm sorry. If I'm not 100% sure, because this one's a little fuzzy to me, but I want to say it was something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the public needs to take this seriously. You need to monitor what your kids are watching. You need to monitor your kids' social media. There is no such thing as privacy with a child.
Yeah.
They're a child. Your job as a parent is to parent them. When they become adults, now you can be their friend. Because, hey, you did your job, you raised them. But if you try to be your kid's friend, you're going to raise your grandkids. My grandmother told me this, and it's one of the smartest things I ever heard from my grandmother, who was a very, very wise woman, God rest her soul. She said, if you spoil your children, you will raise your grandchildren. If you raise your kids, you will spoil your grandchildren.
That's good.
Smartest thing I ever heard. And damn if she wasn't right. So if you parent your children like you're supposed to, you'll raise good moral adults, and then you can spoil the grandchildren. Give them candy, give them sugar, and send them right back to mom and dad. Haha, revenge is great. But if you spoil your kids by letting them do whatever they want, go wherever they want, not monitoring their social media, not monitoring their text messages, not monitoring their phones, you could end up with a child who becomes a victim because you didn't want to be the hard-ass parent.
Yeah.
And that is what's so tragic to me is my mother didn't let us get away with shit. Your mother didn't let you get away with shit.
No.
This is why you and I function in a society as adults. Because we were raised with discipline. We were raised with parents that gave a shit, that cared. What are you doing? What are you going? What are you doing? And as a kid, yeah, that's my business. It wasn't. It was.
I don't got no business. I'm 10.
Yeah. My stepdaughter asked me what my chore list was. Everything else that you don't have to do is my chore list. The job I work to pay for the clothes and your computer. Yeah, that's my chore list.
Oh,
empty the litter box, clean the bathroom, do your laundry. Not a hard list. At the first time I almost want to smack a child. Where's my chore list? I'll tell you my chore list.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's some.
Bills, taxes. Kids are selfish by nature, and they're very insular because as a child, as a teenager, you're used to being selfish. That's a child, and that's normal. Okay, but as a parent, your job is to monitor what they do. I had a sexual assault case, and I can talk about it now. It's been long adjudicated. the girl, and this should have been a red flag to her mother, and her mother never picked up on it. And I don't blame the mother at all. I'm not placing blame on a parent here, other than the person who did it.
Mm-hmm.
But she stayed over her best friend's house all the time. Now, we did that. I did that growing up. I stayed at my best bud's house. You stayed at your best friend's house. Let me ask you something. Did you ever stay in a separate bedroom than your best bud? Or did you sleep in the same bedroom, talk shit till 3 a.m, fall asleep?
Yeah, so we did it.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Girls have sleepovers. It's the same thing. They don't stay in separate bedrooms. They stay in the same bedroom. My stepdaughter used to drive me up the wall because at 3 a.m, I hear little girls giggling. I'm like, I'm trying to sleep. But they're all in the same bedroom. She would go over there, and he got her own room for sleepovers and made her stay in that room.
Yeah.
That should have been a red flag off the top, but I don't know if she told the mother. I'm a little fuzzy on that, whether she'd actually told the mother that or not. But if she had, I would hope the mother would be like, oh, hell no, you ain't going over there anymore. And it started out slow, physical, petting, and then it went all the way to full sex when she was 13 years old. And she finally outcried. I took the original offense call. The guy lived literally right around the corner. We stepped out of the house, looked down the street, and there was his house. So yeah, I called Child Safe, and we got on that fast.
Mm-hmm.
And this dumbass didn't change the sheets very often. So we got DNA, all that. And yeah, we ended up, and he was active duty military, which was just one of the most heartbreaking aspects because I'm retired Air Force and he was active duty Air Force. And it just, to me, that was twice as bad because he just besmirched the honor of my beloved Air Force.
Yeah.
Like that just, the oath you took meant nothing to you. Apparently it didn't.
Yeah.
So he was disgraced and he ended up, the military just discharged his ass, turned him over to us. He's all yours. And they discharged him, turned him over to us, and we sent his ass to prison. I'd rather he went to Fort Leavenworth, which is not nice and cushy. You work in Fort Leavenworth. You don't sit around reading books. You're working at Fort Leavenworth. You're working from sun up till sundown like you should be.
Well, because
it's a military. It's still a military prison.
So you still have to salute your superiors.
Yes, you do.
You have to get up at a certain time.
I mean, you're reducing rank to E1. For those who understand, that's the lowest rank in the U.S. military is an E1. Yeah, but it's still a military prison, and you are still in the military while you were in that prison. Once you are discharged out of that prison and your sentence is complete, you are now dishonorably discharged from the United States military. Forfeit all pay and benefits.
Okay.
Bon voyage, good luck. And they kick your ass out the gate there in Kansas. Goodbye. Good luck. You don't get VA, nothing. You just lost everything. So I would rather the U.S. government have taken that one because they had the right. But nope, they just discharged him. He's all yours. And we hooked him. They walked a warrant on him. And when they got everything back, it took a while. This is not an overnight process. Movies make it seem like we get warrants like immediately. We get a search warrant instantly, and this stuff doesn't happen instantly. But they called me. The investigator said, we just walked a warrant. You want to go pick him up? Yes, I do. I went out to base and picked him up. Because he was still working. They hadn't discharged him yet. Once we walked the warrant, that's when the military went and started the paperwork for discharge. But I went all the way out to base and drove right up to the squadron he worked at and knocked on the door. They let me in. I'm here to pick up so-and-so.
Is that something that gets coordinated with MPs?
Nope.
In the event you have to arrest a service member?
Nope.
No? Oh,
Nope.
okay.
Just drive right on base. Just tell the gate guards I have a felony warrant to pick up. And they go, okay, have a nice day, sir. And whoop, on the way in. And I, ding, ding, ding. They come out. You know why I'm here. Take that top off because you no way in hell you're going to be wearing that in your mugshot. Take it off. I made him divest all his gear off. Turn around. You're under arrest. And I told him his warrant, right from everybody. I walked him out, threw him in the towel, and drove off. And I did talk to his commander, tell him what was going on. But nothing was going to stop me from arresting him.
Okay.
No, you're under arrest. Sorry about your luck, Chuck. Sucks to be you, but you made the choice.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's funny is people think, well, only ugly guys can be sex offenders because they're so ugly they couldn't possibly get laid. It's not true.
Yeah, that's a horrible stereotype.
Sex offenders come in all genders, all shapes, all sizes, all races, all nationalities. There is no defining characteristic of a sex offender at all, other than they are a human being. That is it. That is the only defining cross characteristic is they're human.
Yeah.
Now, lately we've seen an uptick of teachers, female teachers, with male students.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as men, we're like, hey, good on that student, because I'm not stupid. I know how men think. We're guys. It doesn't make it right. It's still not okay.
Nope.
But if a male teacher screws a female student, he's going to prison for 20 years. A female teacher screws a student, she's going to get 6 months probation. Because the stigma is not the same.
Yeah.
If you have a boy, like I have a son, like, hell yes, son. You have a girl, it's like, nobody touches you ever till you're 30. It's just a difference in thought process. Because as guys, we know what guys are like. We don't want them anywhere near our daughters. But as a guy, when you have a boy, you're like, hell yeah, son. We know the difference. But there is no actual difference. It is a crime. That is still a child.
Yeah.
And while they may not be as traumatically messed up as a little girl would be, it's still not a good thing.
Yeah.
They didn't learn this like we had to. Trial and error and lots of begging and, wearing too much cologne and taking them on expensive dates until they finally said yes. It's a different time. Those are rites of passage. Honestly, those are rites of passage every boy should go through. Okay. But sex offenders don't know characteristic. They're human being. That's the characteristic. They're human. So people can't say, well, I knew he was a sex offender just by the way he looked.
There's no way of knowing
It
that.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
They pass you on the street. They're around you. Some states require you to put a sign in your front yard. A sex offender lives here. Now, some states did away with that because there were some successful lawsuits in those states. You're violating my rights, or you're putting me in danger, which they probably are.
Yeah.
Because people were coming by destroying their cars and shooting up their houses, or they take the sign out of their yard so they would get arrested because the sign's gone. I mean, I can see both sides of that argument, but I have no problem with the sign in the front yard saying a sex offender lives here. Put that motherfucker in concrete 6 inches down like a city sign. It ain't coming off. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
You did what you did. It is what it is, but I'm going to protect the other children, and the people need to know it. And those states make you go neighbor to neighbor.
Okay. So,
I just moved in, and I'm a sex offender.
see, I thought that was like movie
No.
fluff. You know what I mean?
No. I believe California still does that, and I believe Nevada still does that, where you still have to go and actually tell your neighbors with your officer. You go with them and knock on the door. I'm a sex offender. I live here now. But they'll go with the officers so the guys get attacked.
Yeah.
But they still have to do it. It's part of their requirements. I can't imagine a more awkward conversation, honestly, than to knock, hi, I'm your neighbor, and I'm a sex offender. I don't imagine you're going to be invited over for too many barbecues. And anybody who does, that's probably someone else we want to start watching.
Yeah.
Because birds of a feather flock together. It is what it is. So that's my 2 cents on sex offenders. Listeners, I hope you learned something. This is all public information. You can look up sex offenders. You can actually go to, if you live in Texas, you can go to the Texas DPS website, to the sex offender registry, type in your address or type in a zip code or type in a name. And what they did, where they live will all come up. What kind of, are they high risk offender, low risk offender? All that is public information. You are free to look that up. However, let me make it real clear. You cannot use that information to commit a crime against that person. Do not do that. Okay. They did what they did. They paid the price. But if you assault them, you are going to jail for assault. That's it. So don't do that. It's for your awareness. That's it. Okay. Now I'm not saying you can't walk around the neighborhood and put in your HOA's webpage as a sex offender. You have the right to do that. Public information. But you cannot use it for nefarious and you can't use it for evil. Okay. So listeners, we hope you enjoyed today's show. We hope you learned something today. It can be a touchy subject. We try to find the funny, but it can be a touchy subject. But we want people to be aware, and we want you to be aware of what your kids are doing. To be a parent means you have to be aware, and you have to be in your child's business, because when they're a child, they have no personal business. You are responsible for turning that child into an adult, and we want you to get them there safely. Now, once they go to college, you did the best you could, and you got to hope that you did everything you could. But while they're children living under your roof, you need to be paying attention to what they're doing, who they're talking to, and where they're going. Nothing wrong with that. You should have a locator in your child's phone. You should have Locate Me On, whether it's Android or iPhone. You should have the ability to locate your child anytime. Nothing wrong with that. Please do that. It makes it easier for us when they go missing, or especially if they're kidnapped. The kidnapper may not know that's on there, and they generally take the phone with them. So please have these things on there. They're there for safety. Don't feel like you're invading your child's privacy and you're a bad parent. You're not a bad parent. You're doing your job. So that's my foot stomp for this week.
Yep.
J-Man, you want to add anything on this?
Nope.
All right. Well, like always, brothers and sisters, please keep yourself safe. Keep head in the swivel. Pay attention to what goes on around you. Go home at the end of the day like you came into work. And our civilian listeners out there, we hope you enjoyed another show. More to come. And we have some surprises coming down the road. We're going to eventually have a YouTube channel. It's going to be up. And you'll be able to watch these live. Maybe not live, but you'll be able to see the videos. So you'll be able to see what T-Bone and J-Man look like. Please don't make fun of us. We're doing the best we can. So from everybody, from all of us here at Running Code, everyone out there, y'all have a good week. And we're out.
Yes, sir.